Good morning. We'll call the Wednesday, January 23rd, City Council meeting to order. At this time, please join us in an invocation, and then we'll do the Pledge of Allegiance. And then we'll do some minutes, and then we'll come down for some service awards.
May we bow? Gracious Father, we come before you, first of all, thanking you for allowing us to see another day. We thank you for these who have gathered here today for this council meeting, and we pray that you bless this council with wisdom and knowledge to make the decisions that are beneficial for our city. We pray for those that go out on a daily basis and put their lives on the line for us. We thank you for our city fire department, our city police department, and all those other departments that allow us to have the freedoms that we have and to live in a city where we feel safe. We thank you for our life, our health, and our strength, and we give you all the glory, all the honor, and all the praise. In Jesus' name we pray, amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And at this time, we have minutes from the December 12th, 2018 meeting.
Move to approve those as presented.
Motion by Westbrook,
Second.
second by Moore. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. And now we will go down for some service awards.
Good morning. At this time, we do service awards there's a lot of new faces here today. So we do service awards every once in a while when we have so many long-term employees out of the idea. This isn't for y'all, anyway, this is for them. Okay, good. I guess they want to see.
Who did that? Is it okay for me to keep going?
Yes,
Okay. So, we honor the people that have worked for us for so many years. Today, we have 165 years of experience, and it's in the police department and fire department. The names that I'm going to be calling, y'all might not know, but every one of us that volunteer for city government and all the staff, we know them all very well. They are excellent employees that keep you safe day in and day out in the community. They're just great people. So it's a great honor to be able to do this today. Michael Cox for 20 years of service. Years. Thank you. Come get a picture. We'll shake his hand. There you go. Yeah, right here. Congratulations.
Thank you, Michael.
James Seaton, Fire Department, 20 years. Congratulations. And thank you. Thank you. Randy Lee, Fire Department, 20 years. Congratulations, and thank you. Here we go. I don't think Hector's here today, is he? Is Hector here? And Brent's not here either, right? No, there you are. There you are. Come on. Brent Hale, Fire Department, 25 years.
How could you miss it?
I know, I was gonna say that, but you're bigger than me, so I wasn't gonna say it unless you thought it. Thank you. Stephen Gray, Fire Department, 25 years. Thank you very much. You're welcome. Good. 25 years. James Mulligan, Fire Department, 30 years. Congratulations. Thank you for your service.
Thank you.
Great, thank you. Thank you guys very much for your time.
We're done? Want to do another one?
Yes.
Oh, okay, go ahead. Oh, the recipient isn't here. We'll do it later.
Well, we can, y'all want to shift to Texas downtown real quick to
Come on.
do that?
I didn't know we had approved this yet.
There it goes. All right. Good morning, Mayor and Council. Today, I'm so proud to publicly recognize two outstanding groups that show passion and dedication to our downtown. They have been part of some major catalyst projects in the revitalization efforts. At the most recent Texas Downtown Association Awards, two of our own brought home some major awards. ETX Best Downtown Business, over 50,000 populations in the state of Texas. Since opening in 2016, East Texas has brought new life to downtown and is a major partner in many of the promotional downtown activities and continually support and donate to the community organizations. Last year, they expanded with the opening of the porch that further allows them to feature local artists, musicians, and performers. We are so proud to honor East Texas with a TDA award for best downtown business with 50,000 or over in the state of Texas.
Oh, yeah, so that's me, right?
And our next award goes to Best Promotional Event in the state of Texas, the Red Dirt Barbecue and Music Festival. The Red Dirt Barbecue and Music Festival was held in May in the grounds of downtown every year. Red Dirt brings thousands of people across Texas and neighboring states to enjoy what Texas has to bring with finest barbecue and music. They bring over in downtown Tyler that is, excuse me, sorry, I'm so kind of, but they have sold out 5 years in a row. Within seconds, VIP tickets are sold out. Within a couple days, they have sold out of every ticket. That's over 5,000 tickets sold to bring people to downtown Tyler. We are so fortunate to have them stay home and stay to their roots in the downtown, which I've heard them publicly say they will never want to go anywhere else. They want to stay in downtown. And we are so proud and honored to award them with the best festival event in the state of Texas for Downtown Association.
Good morning, Mayor and Council. I would request that the City Council consider recognizing a city employee as the Blue Ribbon Award winner for placing the highest premium on responsiveness to citizens' needs. Wait till- The Blue Ribbon Award is presented this month to an employee who has placed the highest premium on responsiveness to citizens' needs. The Blue Ribbon program was started on April 1st, 2004 to recognize exceptional employee performance. Ideal candidates for the award are employees whose ideas or suggestions have improved productivity, saved money, improved efficiency, or improved employee morale. This wastewater collection superintendent has been with the City of Tyler for nearly 15 years. And in that time, he has held many positions within wastewater collections. He is an incredible worker, supervisor, and leader within Tyler Water Utilities. He is innovative with solutions to issues that arise and yet knowledgeable of the tried and true methods. He took over as wastewater collection superintendent at the Service Center in April of 2017. Since that time, his innovative ideas for workflow at the Service Center have made the system more efficient and timely in response. When he was asked to step in as interim water distribution superintendent while continuing in his position as wastewater collection superintendent in August of 2017, he selflessly agreed to help. He is dedicated to his work and his staff and is the definition of performance excellence. He goes above and beyond the call of duty by spending countless hours with both employees and citizens, making sure their needs are met. He comes to work every day with a positive attitude, and no matter what issues might arise, he will work to find the best solution while educating his staff in efficiency. He consistently, without a doubt, exemplifies the call to serve spirit as superintendent of Tyler Water Utilities. For his intense dedication to innovating and improving Tyler Water Utility systems and staff, and his unwavering dedication to the citizens of Tyler, staff recommends that the City Council recognize Tim Moore as the January recipient of the Blue Ribbon Award.
Thank all of you. Thank you. Thank you. You sure you want to make a speech? Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate it. Thanks to all of my leaders for helping me.
Good morning, Mayor.
Good morning.
Council.
Morning, Benny.
How y'all doing today?
Good, sir.
I'm here to tell you guys about every year IBM Corporation recognizes a handful of organizations to showcase the inspiring use of technology to propel their organizational businesses. This year, I'm proud to announce that the City of Tyler was selected from thousands of customers around the world and industries for as a leading example of a data-driven city serving its community. As a part of this selection, IBM team used City of Tyler as a public case study and drafting an ebook that you guys can see that. Also, you have a sample of it in front of you that is showcasing everything about that little tab. Yeah. And we were also selected to speak about our experiences at the annual IBM Think conference in San Francisco. IBM Think conference draws over 40,000 attendees from around the world, and we're very proud and honored that IBM chose to recognize our city as one of the data-driven cities. We serve our community, as I say, proudly, and we think that best of it is yet to come. And I'm going to show you guys a small video of a sample that I've done, but the whole video section is about 19 minutes, which is at the stage room that we're going to have some cakes and punch if you guys like to join us after.
Yeah, great. You said cake, right?
Absolutely. So the whole video is actually out there. Some of you guys, I've already sent you guys a sample. That this is about a minute of video that they made especially for council. But again, we're honored that they're going to showcase this throughout the whole thing as a recognizing city. I think this year's only two organizations were selected. One is City of Tyler. I think the other one is Jefferson County Hospital. They were selected to be showcased among all the organizations.
Awesome.
Yeah, as soon as,
Just take it off Jimmy's face.
Yeah, oh, I'm sorry. I can move you back.
yeah. But now, when is this going to be presented?
February 11th, I'm going to be going to San Francisco, and they're going to be presenting that.
And after that, we can put it online?
It
Everybody
is
can see
available.
it?
We can put it online. They actually released it.
Oh, they did, good.
Exactly. They said that we could use that.
Because I saw it the other day. It was really incredible.
Yeah. They sent crew of two.
We're proud of you.
Yeah, thank you.
You
They
did
sent
good.
2 people here. It's been 2 days, and they're filming the whole city, and they interviewed the chief and I and most of our staff on what we're doing with technology. I think they're excited about the future as how we're going to be using the technology to deliver service to the citizens.
Awesome.
All right. Thank you.
You did good.
All right, appreciate that.
You made Chief Tyler look really good.
Do you want me to go into public hearing right away, or do you want me to wait till after she presents? Okay.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Mayor, council, city manager. I am requesting the city council to consider conducting a public hearing to obtain citizen comment to amend the Community Development Block Grant Annual Plan, and also move to approve reprogramming of funds. In 2017, staff allocated $260,000 to Britton Street project. Due to various reasons, we had to cancel the project for reasons beyond our control and financial capacity. We are reallocating funds to 3 projects in a total of $260,000. The first project is the TJ Austin Sidewalk Project for sidewalks. We're allocating $50,000. Critical Repair Program, which we will be partnering with Habitat for Humanity in the amount of $110,000. And then we also have a new program that we're implementing, which is the asbestos, abatement to asbestos, for $100,000. And at this time, I am requesting the council to conduct the public hearing and then move to approve the reprogramming of funds.
At this time, we'll open a public hearing. Anyone that is here to speak on these items is more than welcome to come forward at this time and express your opinion on H1. Seeing no reaction from anyone in the audience, we will close the public hearing at this time. And thank you very much for your presentation. Are you finished?
I need you to approve the reprogramming of funds.
Okay.
Move to approve H1. Second.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. Good morning, Heather.
Good morning, Mayor, Council.
Morning.
Our first application is for a zoning request to rezone from light industrial to PCD planned commercial development. This is located off of East Irwin Street. It's the location of DJ Morisco's Restaurant, and they would like to bring the building into conformance as well as do an expansion of their building and add more parking. To the north, west, and south are zoned M1 light industrial, and they contain various warehouses and non-conforming single-family homes. To the east is R2, two-family zoning, as well as M1, and this also contains warehousing and single-family homes. The future land use guide for this case would be amended to general commercial, which is consistent with this area. And the applicant has submitted a site plan that shows the existing restaurant as well as 2 expansion areas and a new parking lot. You can see that they are adding to the front to add kind of more of an entry area, and they're adding the parking lot to the rear, which is just south of the existing parking lot that's located on the site. The site plan will provide the required buffer yard for the residential property to the east and for the existing home to the south, which is not required per zoning because it has a higher intensity zoning. However, it's a home and they're doing that out of courtesy. Of the 26 notices mailed, 0 returned in favor or in opposition, and the Planning and Zoning Commission by a 5-0 vote recommends approval.
Any questions of Heather?
No, I proudly move to approve Z1.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion by Warren, a second by Westbrook. Any other comments or questions? We do have a surveyor here that is available for questions. If there are no questions, though, we'll call the question. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Okay, so now we're on to Z2. And we do have quite a few cards on this, so what we'll do, and just to let everybody know, that when you see us look down at our screen, we're seeing exactly what you're seeing up here. So it's not like we're not paying attention to what you're saying. So if you're up here speaking and people are looking at pictures, it might be just on the screen, okay? And then what we'll do is we'll allow 5 minutes for everyone to speak. And so Heather will make the presentation, we'll ask questions of Heather, and then we'll call each card up, and you'll have 5 minutes each to state your opinion. And then at the very end, that will also spur questions, I'm assuming, from the rest of us up here, and then we'll proceed with debating the issue. So at this time,
Yes, sir. This is a zone change request from RMF multifamily zoning and R1A single-family zoning to planned office district POD with a final site plan. This is located off South Broadway, and the applicant is requesting this zone change to allow for an office building at this site. To the north is zoned RPO, Restricted Professional Office, and it's the location of a medical office. To the south, east, and west are zoned R1A single family. The lot to the east is undeveloped, and all other lots are developed with single family homes. The future land use guide is neighborhood commercial, and this request is consistent with the future land use guide. The site plan proposes a 5,600 square foot office complex And the proposed standards are consistent with the RPO district, with one exception, that they are expanding after hearing comments from the neighbors in the last Planning and Zoning Commission meeting. They're actually expanding the buffer yard from 20 feet, which is the maximum required per the UDC. They're expanding it to 25. The site plan proposes to be the site of MHS Planning and Design, who has designed the site plan. William Spencer of MHS is also purchasing the residential property to the west of this site, and he has stated that his intent is to rehab the house and live on the property. And what you're seeing here is an example of the site plan. The site plan is indicated in the green area. That's the subject property for the zoning request. And in the gray area is an illustrative area, and it's showing the property where the applicant intends to live, and also a portion of the pond. And for clarification, pond, waterways, they're allowed in any zoning district. That portion of the site plan was simply displayed so that we had a full understanding of what their intent was. This is part of the actual consideration for today, and you can also see that staff, in reviewing the site plan, did ask the applicant to add a note that you can see outlined in green, which states that the pond, which is 0.75 acres, proposed pond is shown for reference purposes only, and that any drainage improvements must be reviewed and approved by the appropriate engineering authority. During the Planning and Zoning Commission meeting, multiple surrounding residents spoke both in favor and in opposition to this request. Concerns listed by the residents who spoke in opposition include potential noise from the development, loss of privacy, and concerns regarding the engineering design of the drainage improvements. The property fronts South Broadway Avenue, which on the master street plan designates as a minor arterial. Single-family uses are typically incompatible on these types of streets due to the high traffic volume. Office zoning provides an appropriate transition between the commercial development on South Broadway and the residential development to the west. The Unified Development Code requires offices provide a type B buffer yard, but as I stated earlier, they have expanded their buffer yard to allow for additional buffering. Mr. Spencer has said that the pond is being engineered to reduce the impacts of downstream property owners. And they also, in addition to increasing the buffer yard, they did relocate a fence, and that was proposed. The relocation of the fence is a proposed wrought iron fence to the rear property line to connect with the brick wall on the Foreman lot to the south. In addition to the mailed protest letters, staff has received 16 emails from 14 addresses in protest of this development. Again, the concerns included additional noise caused by the development and from Broadway, loss of privacy, increased traffic, and concerns regarding the engineering design of the drainage improvements. In looking at the notification area, we have different, this map is showing you the actual protest in red, so the protest is just under 6%. The blue areas are showing you the neighbors which were in favor of this request. And then here, just to clarify the notification, the legal notification area. There are 3 forms of notice that are provided to the public whenever we have rezoning requests. And we have a 15-day publication, which is in our Tyler Morning Telegraph, and at least 15 days mailed notice to property owners within 200 feet. And this is a requirement by the state, and we actually exceed that requirement by mailing it out 5 days more, giving it more time for our residents to consider the request. And then we also require, in addition to the state mandated mailed notice, a yellow sign or a zoning sign to be placed on the property to also notify residents of the zone change request. So this is just to show you, anyone has the ability to protest or stand in favor of a zoning request, and all of those are considered. It's simply that the state requires a 200-foot notification area, and that is calculated into that 20% protest, which would trigger a supermajority vote by council in order to approve a request that received that much protest. This one, however, did not, but just for clarification, wanted to share our various types of notification. The council has the option to either approve the site plan that was recommended by the Planning and Zoning Commission, or to review and approve or deny, or what have you, the site plan that is presented today. Again, the two differences to today's site plan is an increase in the buffer yard, which is positive, from 20 to 25, and the relocation of the fence, which was supported by that property owner. So of the 12 notices mailed, 3 were returned in favor, 3 in opposition, at just under a 6% protest. And the Planning and Zoning, by a 5-0 vote, recommends approval of the zoning change to planned office district with final site plan.
Questions of Heather?
Heather, it's currently zoned RMF multifamily. If there was no zoning change, what could be built there?
Apartments. It could be a multifamily complex. It could be, it would be something that's other than single family. So it would be multifamily.
Could it be 3-story?
Yes.
And on RMF, we can go up to 24 doors per acre is the limit on the RMF, so density is pretty intense.
So is the whole track currently?
No, it's split. It's RMF and R1A.
So 26 would be R1A, and lot 26 and lot 20A would be the multifamily?
Right. The one to the north is the multifamily.
Okay. Go ahead. Any more questions?
So how many doors did you say?
24 per
24.
acre.
24 per acre is our current cap on RMF zoning. 24 units an acre. So like, your standard residential, say Gwynn Estates or something like that, is 4 to 5 an acre. And those are pretty small lots. So this would be, 5 to 6 times.
So how many acres is this?
Sorry?
How many acres is this?
Yeah, go back to the site plan. Put that back up for us. 1.856, but that would be both lots. It was listed as 26, but it's really 20 and 20A.
The total is just under 2 acres.
Yeah, 1.858
Yes.
acres. So question, on a site plan like this, where the applicant has added the comment that you said about that pond, that is the 0.75 acres pond, just specifically on this track. It doesn't address the other, so it's about an
Correct.
acre.
It
pond,
only
right?
addresses what's on this site.
Okay, so that is not able to be changed. Where the retaining wall is, where the pond is, that is going to be required based on this site. If the site plan is approved, that has to be done in perpetuity.
Correct.
Is that
If there's
correct?
any significant change, it would have to go back through the entire process
For,
again.
for every bit of this track.
Yes.
And so he's got landscaping of 1.36 acres, which is the bulk of this site. So that is required in perpetuity as well, right?
Right. And what's unique about this is that is the nature of their business, and that's why you see so much landscaping. That's one of the reasons why you see so much landscaping on this site, is their intention is to have it as, to display and showcase this site for their clients.
Right, and I don't doubt their ability to do that, but I'm looking at second, third, fourth generation owner potentially, right?
Yes,
So
sir.
if this is required, this is required.
Right, yes. Any changes in the future would have to be approved by the council.
Okay, so if there's no other questions, at this time, we have quite a few cards, and I've put them in some sort of order where it'll be far against, so everyone will have opportunity to speak. So the first card I have is John Gaston.
Mr. Mayor, do you have a time limit?
5 minutes.
Thank you.
Yeah, unless y'all want to take 10 minutes each, and we'll just make it a day. Okay. Okay, 5 minutes, sir. Okay, great. Come on up, John. Mr. Gaston, excuse me. State your name and address for the record, please. And you have 5 minutes.
Mayor, council, nice to see you. My name is John Gaston, and I'm really representing my wife as well, Jennifer. We live at 106 Bellmead, and we were in the original notification of the zoning change. And we've lived there 17 years, and that's it for us. Definitely it for me, and probably for her as well. And I'm going to speak against approval. I did attend the planning and zoning meeting, so I was there for that. I was very pleased to hear that MHS Design is expanding the buffer, the green zone. I think that reflects that they're concerned about the residents over on Bellmead, especially on the north side, which backs up to their property. My main concerns the first one is really privacy. I'm sure all of you are familiar with that cul-de-sac, and what makes it an attractive place to live in part is, the privacy that we have. It's a very tranquil street. It does back up to Broadway, but that really impacts me, not so much the people on the north side. And will that be disrupted with this commercial business going in? And secondly, a certain amount of security concerns with, what kind of traffic and people are going to be in that area during the day and possibly at night. The main issues are from a privacy concerns is the lighting along with the buffer zone. I mean, is it going to be satisfactory for the residents of my street, and especially those on the north side? I'm no, as I said at the last meeting, I'm no real estate whiz, but it seems to me there has to be some consideration is there going to be financial considerations that could impact our homes? I'm not an expert on that. I'm sort of asking that question. I keep hearing about the multifamily homes that might go in that area. Well, if you're familiar with the area, there's already 3 apartments in that area, 2 on the side of this commercial property, and then 1 right across the street, and they're never full. So somebody, it seems to me, would have to have a screw loose to want to put in another apartment complex. The other thing, and this is really, I say this to you guys, I probably won't be around to see it, and you guys probably won't be in office, but you have to consider the fact, are we putting a big squeeze on that Bellmead strip? We're going to consider putting in a commercial business there, and this past summer, we have a meeting where we begin to hear about the widening of Broadway. And right now that's supposed to start at Amherst. Well, what if somebody down the road wants to start it further north? And I think that's something you all got to think about, because that is definitely going to increase the traffic and congestion and will negatively impact the residents on Bellmead. But finally, and I forget who it was, said at the last meeting, it's the lesser of 2 evils. That's probably true. I know these folks. I believe they're good people, and I believe they genuinely have some concerns for us. So I would say in closing that if you decide in favor of their proposal, you get a lot more done when there's a spirit of cooperation and people work together, that there be some kind of representation of the Belmead group to be included in the planning of this commercial enterprise, where we have input into the well-being of our neighborhood and street. That's all I got.
Thank you, Mr.
Any
Gaston.
questions for me?
We'll call you back up if there are.
Okay, sounds good.
Yeah.
Thanks, John.
Laura Corbett?
Good morning, Mayor. Good morning, council members.
Good morning.
Good
Thank
morning.
you for hearing from us today. I'm here representing the Fair family. They feel that this is the highest and best use for this property. They did get some requests for multifamily. They did not feel like that would be the best use for the neighbors as well as for the property. Also, just in conclusion, they're excited to see a young couple come in and renovate a historic house in this community. It's very important to keep the integrity of the Azalea area, and we're just excited and thrilled and think this is obviously the best choice. Thank you so much.
Ma'am, can we get address, just for the...
3914 Post Oak. Thank you for
Thank you, ma'am.
reminding.
30 seconds.
Excuse me?
30 seconds, that's all it was.
That's all I need?
Okay. Laura, I have no notes to take. Garnet Brookshire?
Good morning, Mr. Mayor, council members. Garnet Brookshire, 220 Glenhaven Drive. Here speaking on behalf of my wife Christina and I both as neighbors on Glenhaven to the subject property. We are in support of the proposed development for several reasons. First, as Ms. Corbett pointed out, the Spencers are planning on remodeling and renovating an old home that needs it badly and which has been sat vacant for several years on a street with not a lot of homes. So it's quite obvious which one has lacked the TLC that it deserves. On top of that, the Spencers are offering to solve a long-running drainage issue in the creek just behind Glenhaven, between Glenhaven and Belmead. An issue that we've been told that could take years for the city to resolve due to limited budget, understandably, which is also appealing for us as neighbors. And our property backs up to that creek, and the faster that gets resolved, the happier we'll be as neighbors. Thirdly, as Mr. Gaston pointed out, I agree, privacy is a concern and an issue for us as well. We have 2 children. Right now, because of the vacancy of the property and its currently heavily wooded area, the 2 tracks that we see up there on the site plan, that tends to attract vagrants, and quite often there's drug paraphernalia found in that area. And because of my desire for privacy for me and my family, that's not a good long-term situation for a nice, quiet, family-oriented street. So the proposed development for a high-end planning and design firm and an architectural firm who specializes in this type of design for recreational areas, so we have complete faith in their ability to design a spectacular looking property, but that'll attract the right people to that property and hopefully be a good solution for keeping the vagrants out of our nice family-oriented street. The Spencers have also been very transparent in their plans for development. They came to us early, and we're very appreciative of that. They also gave consideration to our concerns, going as far as completely redoing the site plan, adjusting the resituating their office building and the parking lot, increasing the buffer. We've had several conversations with the Spencers. They've addressed our concerns. I know some others. So in our opinion, of all the scenarios for possible development of this tract, this is one of the best ones, from a neighbor's opinion. So thank you for your time.
Good.
Appreciate it.
Thank you. Mr. Ritchie, Robert Ritchie.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Good morning. My name is Robert Ritchie, and our property is located at 119 Belmead. I would ask you if I could circulate this amongst you guys.
Sure.
It may not be quite enough to go around, but the plat is not showing the entirety of the project as presented here, and I've done some coloring there that might help. That's the site plan that's the site plan as presented to the Planning and Zoning Commission a couple of weeks ago. Our property's back line abuts both the single-family residential lot owned by the Nancy Fair Estate, which is proposed to be rezoned POD, and we abut the single-family residential lot owned by the Nancy Fair Estate, which is not proposed for rezoning, which retains its 1A status, but which will contain approximately 20% of this office complex. As the city's planning and zoning department has figured it, we will be looking at the very same bulldozers, track hoes, earth movers, and personnel that are operating on the proposed rezoned single-family lot as will be operating on the single-family lot containing the Nancy Fair house. This project extends into both tracts. And I would like to make a bit of a correction. I thought I heard a little earlier on that these two lots that are being rezoned are both multifamily. The top of those lots is multifamily. The bottom one is single-family residential, which abuts us at Belmead. Also, I have with me here today evidence of 44 neighbors who are against this project, 44 of us. This consists of 28 individuals who have signed a petition against this project, along with 16 additional individuals who directly emailed Michael Howe at Planning and Zoning to express their against position. We've just learned of those 16 additional individuals yesterday when Mr. Howe advised us finally what he was holding. We have asked for and have not been provided the dissenting emails. Under any circumstances, 44 neighbors taking the time and the effort to send emails and discuss a petition against this project is no small number of neighbors who do not want this to happen. Further, I have not heard of the number of 4 votes from either the Planning and Zoning Commission or from the developer, other than the fact that the people who live along Glenhaven are for the project. And I believe there are 8 houses on Glenhaven. This project affects many more people than the 8 houses along Glenhaven. Inasmuch as public awareness and public response I know is important to all of us, it would seem this type of a change in zoning, it would be good to know how many are for it, how many people living out here in these neighborhoods are for it, and how many are against it. Now I want to ask you to look at the site plan that I circulated with you. If you'll notice, I've used 3 colors on that plan, yellow, green, and red. The green indicates the 2 Nancy Fair lots that are proposed for rezoning along Broadway, and the yellow indicates the Nancy Fair lot containing her house, not proposed for rezoning. And the red shows our property. I cannot imagine a more representative example of cross-utilization of zoning laws. The city employees at Planning and Zoning have represented this to us in a myriad of ways to justify, unilaterally in my opinion, the developer's usage of the single-family residential lot containing Nancy Fair's house for part of this project. We have heard that he has a right to dig a pond in his residential backyard. We've heard that he has a right to build a sidewalk or jogging track, on his residential lot. Well, sure he does. But he doesn't have the right to combine the breadth and scope of this POD office complex with the single-family residential lot that Nancy Fair's house sits on. And that's what's going on here. It's not represented on that board now, but it is represented on the map that I showed y'all, as presented to the Planning and Zoning Commission. About 20% of the single-family residential lot is part of this office complex. As I mentioned earlier, when the dozers move in and the backhoes and the track hoes and the construction people start working, you won't be able to determine where one property line begins and the other ends. And I would guess the acid test would be, would he be building these improvements on that residential lot if he wasn't attaching them to his office? That's our house, which looks into the back of that residential 1A lot. We're looking into Nancy Fair's zoned R1A property. And we would have preferred that to stay and act like a single-family residential lot. We believe the site needs to expand either beyond its, we believe it's expanding beyond its POD zoning. And we would ask you to either amend the site plan to remove the additional work on the Nancy Fair lot, or to rezone the single-family residential lot that the house sits on. Thank you. Sorry I went over.
Mr. Ritchie, that's fine. Thank you very much. John Barr.
I'm John Barr. My wife Cecile and I live at 201 Belmead. We've been there about a year and a half. We moved in from the east part of the north part of the county since we're getting a little bit older and we need to be in town. I like the location. I guess my next move will probably be Rose Hill. And so we don't plan to come in and flip this house.
Don't make it too soon, okay?
And to flip this house, and we have a long-term investment here. And I believe very strongly that the planned office development is the highest and best use. Our property has about 80 to 90 feet. Our lot is the pointed lot that goes in just south of the Fair House. I think as far as a practical solution to that lot, which is very steep, yes, I think it's the one that's being rezoned is probably single family. I can't imagine a single family home being built on that spot. And if you own property in Tyler, you have to pay taxes for some reason. And I cannot imagine a single-family structure being realistic at that point on Broadway. So to go to multifamily, pretty expensive. And as John Gaston pointed, there's a lot of apartments, houses on there. But to me, the apartment would be the only solution. And I had much rather have planned office development on that lot than some multifamily housing. The fact of the water retaining pond that would be there would certainly help our neighbors just north of us, the Camerons. Several years ago, their house flooded, and that creek floods a lot. That retaining pond, to me, would be a great gift to the city to help the water situation. Those trees over there that I have about, I said, 80 or 90 feet to the fair. This illustration doesn't show the drop off and all that stuff. Fortunately, my house, when I bought it, had 6 security cameras on it, and I still have them. I am concerned about the activity on the woods in there. In fact, the neighbor last time protested about seeing all kind of people and drug paraphernalia and stuff in the back of that lot. And so I think what the Spencers are planning to do, they got skin in the game to come in and redo that fair house. I've been in it one time. It needs a lot of help. The old Marsh House and the old Ramey House that are on Broadway, beautiful old homes. They're turned into office space. If something's not done with the fair house, it could very well, say, wait a minute, we turn that into multifamily or whatever you could do, but you cannot hold property and not do something with it. And I think the fact that Spencer's are going to put a lot of money into this project gives me comfort that this thing would help, it would improve our neighborhood. The type of business they're doing is not going to be a high-traffic business. I'd much rather have that than an apartment that, has a lot of, or other types of business. So it's just, as far as the security concerns and all those other things have been raised, it does not concern me in the least bit. I think that what's been outlined here would be best for everybody in the neighborhood. And I feel very strongly about it. I'd rather have something like this than something that no one has come forward. That property has been that way. Nancy Fair, I'm trying to remember when she passed away, but it's been a long time ago, and nothing's happened. And I think we're very fortunate to have the Spencers come, hey, here's a plan. It fits with their business plan, the opportunity to have landscaping and things that help their business, and then the architect that would be a tenant. Those are not high volume type business. So I'm strongly recommend that this project be approved and go forward with it.
Thank you, sir.
All right.
The last card I have is William Spencer. And Tammy Spencer is on her way up as well.
Mr. Mayor, City Council, William Spencer, 3413 Harwood, and I made this mistake at Planning and Zoning. I did not introduce my wife. This is Tammy Spencer, and we live at the same residence. Evidently, I got in trouble after I did that, so I'm not going to make that mistake twice. Thank you guys for all that you do. I'm going to just kind of walk you down the road. I think staff did a wonderful job of presenting the facts, fill in a few gaps, address some of the conversations that we've had. We started this process looking at this property about the middle of the summer, trying to figure out ways that we could have a positive impact on not only this area, but the city of Tyler. As we dove into this, we found a lot of different hurdles to overcome, as you've heard, something that can't be portrayed on a piece of paper. So as we put this property under contract 1st of December, we felt it was absolutely essential to have a neighborhood meeting. We held that on December 11th at the Fair House, and we invited everybody along the Bellmead cul-de-sac that would be impacted, as well as Glen Haven, and even across the street, basically for everybody that would be getting notices. We wanted to talk with them before they got the notices with the City Council, and our plea with them at that meeting was simple. Guys, if you see the value in this development, please encourage us, because we're not going to go and sink a lot of time and money into this if we don't believe that the neighborhood's for it. And at the beginning of the meeting, I think there were several people that were against it, but as we talked about it and as we talked about what could possibly be developed on the multifamily and what could possibly happen with the Fair House, they began to understand, and I think Mr. John Barr put it best, this is a great value add. It protects a lot of the things that the neighborhood holds in high regard. And that's what we pleaded with everybody is if this is a no, please let us know. We want to cut it short. But after that meeting, we were encouraged. As you all know, you can't please everybody, and we were well aware of that going into it. But we wanted to have the support of our neighbors, because we do. We plan on living in that house. My kids plan on playing in the backyard, and we truly would be the most impacted by this development. And that was our plea. And after that meeting, we were very, very encouraged. We were. Enough so to put the property under contract, go and do inspection reports, spend a lot of time and money on site planning, architectural plans, and diving into all of this. We do plan on doing a very, very residential style house. it will probably feel more like a residence than anything else. Our current office, every time people come in, they're like, this is just very homey feeling, and we want to keep that. That's who we are. Our company specializes in outdoor spaces. That's what we do. We build parks, we build sports complexes, and part of the reason that we looked at this is we wanted to add some value in the landscaping. And with us being all in with the house, we're not planning on going anywhere. We've built it to kind of our ultimate capacity. That's where we plan on keeping our office. We do not see the firm growing outside this office in the next 25 years. Several of the concerns that have been brought up, because there were some concerns as we had our initial layout, orientation of the parking, the buffer yards. We addressed and adjusted both of those. Met with Carla Foreman. Do not believe that she's here today. Carla Foreman is, Mr. Barr is on the left side of the Richies, west side, and Ms. Foreman and her husband are on the right side. They're on Belmead. We listened to their concerns. She discussed lighting. We talked about the low-impact LED lighting that we plan on having. There will be zero spill over into any of these property lines. We discussed the buffer yards. We increased the buffer yards so much so that it's bigger than what the city would require. We're voluntarily going in and helping fix or helping take one step forward on fixing some of the drainage problems. One specific area that has been a high point. It will allow the city to finish out that project at some point in time without having to do significant mitigation. So all that to be said, everybody that we talked to on this project has outside of one person, has supported this project. Every single one of them. Several of them are here today voicing their support. We truly do feel that we have the support of the neighborhood. We truly do believe that we are adding value, specifically because we're removing the multifamily. Thank you all for your time. We're here. I'm sure you guys have questions for us. The architect of record is here to answer any kind of questions you have there. Surveyor of record is here, as well as Laura Corbett, who already spoke. She's the real estate agent. So thank you all very much for your time, for your consideration. I know you've all spent a lot of time thinking about this one. Appreciate you.
Okay, do we have questions for Mr. Spencer?
One question about the sidewalk that was wrapped around in the site plan that Mr. Ritchie gave us.
Yes, sir.
It appears, and I already asked this question, so I'm wanting clarification just from you. Y'all removed that from the site plan.
Absolutely. It's something we were willing to do. It did save us some money.
Right.
So we were happy to do that. It was specifically addressing the access. We do plan on fencing the entire development. A lot of that is for our peace of mind. We don't want people walking in our backyard. I mean, I've got 3 kids. They're going to be playing in that backyard. Security is the utmost important for me, my son who's 6, and my 2 other daughters. It's something that we hold of a high priority, and it's just reflected that we plan on living in the house. I mean, it truly is. So that was one of the reasons we got away from it. Concrete oftentimes lends itself to public access, so we heard that concern and we did remove that happily.
Yeah, so I'm sorry, let me clarify. On this that was given, I think this is what you just asked.
Yes.
On this?
The sidewalk around.
The sidewalk around, the sidewalk is not.
It's no longer on the site plan.
It's on this, no, okay.
I've got one question, and I realize this is a zoning case and not a drainage case, but I want to bring it up. This area was part of a drainage study that was done several years ago, and it was an expensive resolution to fix it. So in your proposal where you have this retention pond, would you be working with the city to make sure where the water exits this retention pond fits into where this drainage study is done, so we really are solving problems rather than creating problems?
Absolutely, and we've already begun those conversations with the city engineer. Brandon has already done the study of everything. The environmentalist that worked with Brandon on that project is currently under contract with us to work on this project as well. So that is part of as we dove in after our neighborhood meeting, that's one of the items that we wanted to dive in and get a little bit more information on. We're very, very comfortable with where we are on that at this point in time. There are still hurdles to come as we work with city staff to make sure that we're designing the outfall structure correctly. But again, if we mess up, I'm all in. I'm going to be the first person that gets impacted. So I'm going to double check and triple check to make sure.
That's correct, by the way.
To double check and triple check
Yeah.
that all of a sudden our house is not in the pond.
Yeah, I'm glad you said that. I didn't have to say that.
Well, I saw Brenda Cameron back there a minute ago, and I know that their house is the one that's flooded a couple of times. So you think this would help their problem as well?
It will. We're planning on, it's not going to fix the solution because the solution does have to do with the capacity in the channel downstream. But what we're able to do is we're able to reduce the current runoff that is getting into that and put it into the channel at a more controlled rate based on the storm. So, and this is something that we've done in several of our parks. We do this on a very, very regular basis. We did it in downtown Lindale to help out with their downtown park. And we've done it several places in the Metroplex. So this is not something that's lost on us. That's part of the reason we wanted to put it in there is it shows some of our capabilities to say, oh, you got drain, this is something we can look at. We've done it in Longview. So it is something that we've done before. It is not a foreign art to us.
Mr. Spencer, I'd like to commend you for the way you've worked with the neighborhood. You've worked with me. You've worked with the people who objected. I've been on council for 3.5 years now, and this is the second time we've dealt with this property. I think you've done a fine job of letting the neighbors know. It's my hope that those 44 neighbors who've objected might watch this meeting today and understand the project better. You know, sometimes we just don't want to cut down trees, and you've committed to not cutting down any more trees than you have to. And I think when those 44 neighbors see this project, they'll be very proud of the project. So I commend you for working with everybody in the neighborhood.
Thank you very much. Appreciate
So
it.
you have committed to the, that everyone that does a project like this has to commit, but make sure that the lighting is appropriate.
Absolutely, and that's a city standard.
Right.
That's something, it's zero impact.
Right.
There's a big current brick wall that's associated right next to where the parking lot would be. And when I say big, it's 20 feet.
Yeah, it's huge.
It's massive.
Yeah. Now, is that right next to the proposed office building? Is that a power line that comes in there?
It is not, it's an existing sewer line.
It's a sewer easement?
Yes, sir.
Through there, and that's what the dotted lines are?
That would be the proposed easement. So there actually is not an easement on it right now, so we're willingly giving up.
Just a sewer line?
It's just a sewer line, so we're willingly giving up an easement for that one.
Yeah.
That sounds right.
You can keep the easement if you want.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
Good. So on the area though, back behind where Richie is, so that area, you're removing the walkway back there?
Yes, sir.
So that area would be considered, you're going to keep that landscaped?
It'll be we're going to try and maintain those natural trees there. The natural buffer was from the original layout. We didn't bring it up, but we plan on having all the natural trees in that area. And it's roughly, adjacent to the Ritchie property, our actual landscape buffer is closer to 50 to 60 feet.
Right.
The 25-foot buffer is specifically oriented to the foreman's house where the brick wall is. Once that brick wall disappears, we're closer to 50 to 60 feet away from the property line. And there's some wonderful trees there. There's a 36-inch pine that's out there. There's 12, 16-inch elm trees that are out there that we plan on keeping.
Yeah, and his point's well taken, obviously, that the site plan does not extend down to that area, right?
Oh, absolutely not, yeah. It all stops. We've got the 25-foot rear setback line where the office is set.
Right.
So.
But you know, I have no idea where the voting's going to go, but what I'd like to say is, sure would be nice to, you to just write a letter stating that you don't plan to use that, and you're going to keep that.
And we would, if
as
it's
trees.
council's recommendation, we could cloud that and show that as an undisturbed area. There are some
You can't do that legally, right? That's two people behind you shaking their head, but
yeah, I probably wouldn't.
I would. But I'd like.
We would like it to be. We plan on seeing that as a park. I mean, that's kind of our space. We want it to be
You
nice
could
and
just write
direct.
a letter to me as mayor that that's what you want to do.
Absolutely.
And that's your purpose forever and ever. So
Yes.
thank you.
Yep.
But anyway. Any other questions? Okay, thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Okay. If-
I move to approve Z2.
I have a motion by Sellers.
Second.
I have a second by Westbrook. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. We'll let everybody, if y'all can stay for the rest of the meeting if you'd like, or we can give you time to leave. But you're welcome. It's going to be riveting stuff the rest of the meeting. Thank y'all very much for your time, everybody. Z3.
The applicant is requesting a zone change to allow for office development. This current area is a mixture of zoning including R1A single-family, agricultural, restricted professional office, and they would like to rezone it to planned office district with final site plan approval. To the north, east, and west are zoned agricultural. To the north and east are developed with single-family homes, and to the west is undeveloped. To the south is zoned R1A, single-family, and is the location of a special event center and a single-family home. This would amend this future land use guide to office. There is an existing office on the property, and the applicant is proposing to construct for an additional 7,500 square foot office to the east and south. The applicant has proposed a 10-foot buffer yard between the office use and the adjacent properties, along with a corporate trail running through the area. A private street will serve as an access to the special event center to the south of the subject property, and parking, landscaping, and signage will be required to conform with the Unified Development Code. There was opposition to this case, which stated that there were existing traffic issues along Roy Road, and that this proposal would simply increase the congestion. Improvements to Roy Road is currently listed on the CIP, however, it's further on down the list. Of the 12 notices mailed, 0 returned in favor, 2 in opposition, with a 4.08% protest, and the Planning and Zoning Commission recommends this by a 5-0 vote.
Questions of Heather? I have a card here representing the project. Is William Spencer, if he would like to come up.
Mr. Mayor, Council, William Spencer, 212 West 9th Street, Tyler, Texas. Simply here to answer any questions. We've been working with city staff on this one for a couple months. We did amend this several different times to work with them. So happy to be here today. Happy to answer any questions you might have on this project.
Are there any questions?
Well, I only have one, and that has to deal with the buffer zone that you have that's going to be surrounding, and also with the trail that will be going around the complex. Same type of care that we discussed in the previous item on the agenda that will be taken with this property also too, with regard to landscaping, tempered buffering, and that type of thing for the surrounding neighborhood, correct?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yeah, we've met all the city buffer yards, plan on making those. The developer on this project likes having very nice looking projects. So he's committed to doing this the right way. So yes, sir, buffer yards will be in accordance with all the city ordinances, and as well as the corporate trail. So.
Right, okay. And lighting also too?
Lighting as well, yes, sir.
Okay. Great, thank you. I have no further questions. I move to approve C3.
Motion by Westbrook. Second by McGee. No other questions or comments, because everyone, okay. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. On to 01.
This is a request that council consider approving an ordinance making an uncontestable finding that all territory included within the city of Tyler since December 31st of 1998 a part of the city. The adoption of this ordinance will eliminate some potential challenges to the validity of historical annexation ordinances. This is an item that we bring before the council every year so that we can help protect ourselves from any type of potential challenges. And you can see the difference here between 97 and 98. So there was a significant annexation that transpired in 1998. The Planning and Zoning, by a 5-0 vote, recommends approval of this ordinance.
Questions of Heather?
Move to approve 01.
Second.
Motion by Warren, second by Sellers. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. 02.
Mayor and Council, I would like to introduce to you today Shruti Patil. She's an informatics data analyst, and she's a Lean Six Sigma black belt. The project that she's going to be presenting to you today, I just wanted to let you know that it came out of some of the issues that the legal department had with regards to dealing with liens and waivers of liens. And so we asked our Lean Six Sigma staff to give us someone to review this item, and Shruti has done an excellent job, and she's getting ready to present to you that improving lien release process.
Great, and thank you for having someone come present this that actually worked on the project. I think that is a great example of how the Lean Six Sigma program is really changed the culture of this organization. And so we're very happy that you're here to make the presentation.
Thank you. Respected Mayor, respected council members and city manager with key leaders and other audience. I'm here to present a Lean Six Sigma Black Belt project I worked on last year, and it is relating to improving the lien release process. So let me start with introducing. Okay.
You're speaking very well, but you got to speak right into that microphone. You're doing great.
Okay. So let me introduce you to the departments which were involved in this project. First department was code enforcement, and then the neighborhood services, GIS, legal, and city manager as well. So we had different kinds of liens, so we segregated and defined regular liens, tax sale liens, and improvement liens. So regular liens are those liens which are subjected to non-tax sale properties, like I own a house, I pay tax on it. So that's like regular properties. Usually code violation liens refer to this kind of lien, and the lien amount is paid at the code enforcement and to release the lien. The next one is the tax sale lien. Usually HIP properties are the ones which are considered on this list, and usually the lien amount for a tax sale lien is waived. Then comes the improvement lien. These are the properties for which the development amount exceeds the lien amount. So we will talk in more detail as we go further. So my approach from Lean Six Sigma to handle this project was DMAIC, and it is called Define, Measure, Analyze, Improve, and Control. So these are the phases I use to solve the problem, and we'll go for each step into the phase. Define is the very first phase where we define the problem statement. So as an organization, we were experiencing delay in the lien release process, which was affecting our mission to call to serve. So the problems were as follows. There was no standardized process in place, and also there was no policies and no documentation to release a lien. It was a very vague process, and because of the employee turnover in different departments, it was very tough to recognize who was the correct point of contact for the process, and So this was delaying the whole release of the lien, and this delay was resulting in open liens for a longer duration, which obviously results in holding our revenue, which I'm sure you all are concerned about. So, and the affected personnel, definitely it starts with our citizens, then the code enforcement, neighborhood services, GIS to some extent, because the code enforcement and neighborhood services work together with GIS in order to plot the lien on that particular property. And then legal definitely is involved, and to some extent we had the title agencies and the tax attorneys getting affected. In the measure phase, what I did was I went and had individual contact with each person who was involved in this process. I had a one-on-one meeting with everybody to understand what their role is in the process, and I estimated who are the key players in this process and how much time they spend on this process. So I had the estimated work time in each department. The department here refers to, it can be the code enforcement for the code violation liens or the neighborhood services for the demolition liens. And then I estimated the wait time for legal to review it. We understand that the code enforcement and neighborhood services has highest priority on the liens on the property, but when it comes to legal, they are having more prioritized work compared to just reviewing and analyzing if it is supposed to be waived or taken care of or paid. So the priority just goes down. So therefore we were looking at how much work time is it in the legal department and how much wait time. And then as all the liens were supposed to be released by city manager's time was also important to count here in this process. And so after recording all those times, I came up with the total cycle time as you can see on the screen. Moving forward to the analyze phase. So I did a Cognos report from IBM Cognos, as Benny had already discussed about, and I'm a data analyst for the city, so I care for numbers. Number of open liens from September 2016 to August 2018 were something like this. Code enforcement had 621 open liens and neighborhood services had 607. So you can see how much revenue is being blocked in these open liens here, and we, as a team, came up with a process to handle this and see how we can release the liens as quickly as possible so we can get the revenue back from these properties. Identified the process, and especially we were looking at what are the value-added steps in this process and what are the non-value-added steps. Once we identified these non-value-added steps in the process, it was easy for us to eliminate or just concise the whole process to make it more valuable for us to proceed. We observed during this process that permit center did not have the capability to verify if a property had any liens before issuing the permits. So that was something we found out during the process, and so to handle this situation, I created some new forms and created standard operating procedures, which is getting more institutional in every department now. We have been working with different departments to emphasize the importance of standard operating procedures and how it can be useful when there is a lot of employee turnover in some departments. So moving forward to the revisions, I'll just explain a little brief on what revisions were made. So initially in the old process, we had city manager waiving the liens, and also legal department was involved before going to the city manager. But in the revisions, we empowered the department leaders from code enforcement and neighborhood services to take that decision, depending on something similar to the DPR policy, which we all are aware of. So where you can see that the department leader's signature is required to approve a waiver anywhere like up to $4,999. So similarly, in reference to the DPR policy, it was easy for us because everybody understands the DPR policy, so we wanted to integrate our lien release process also with a process which everybody can understand. So these are some of the revisions we made. And coming to the improved state, as we defined 3 different kinds of liens, I created 3 different flowcharts, so there is no confusion when the person is working on it as to what do I do next. So they have the process laid out, and I have printed these multiple copies and handed over to different departments in order for them to refer to it as quickly as possible. And also, I have shared the location on the P drive with the different departments, so they can just click on the hyperlink and it's there for them to refer to. And it will very well be very useful when there is turnover and there is somebody else in my place. I can refer to the same hyperlink, and I don't have to go asking to 10 different people, hey, what do I do next with it? And then about the SOPs again, this project emphasized a lot on standard operating procedures. As you can see, I have created different standard operating procedure documents for each kind of lien and also for the permit center, so they in an order that they can verify if the property has liens before they go and issue the permit. So that is something I appreciate in this project I learned about. Going forward to the captured savings, it's not more about saving the hard dollars, but it's more about saving time and making it more efficient. So with the cycle time, we eliminated the involvement of legal department to some extent. We know that we can't eliminate them to the whole. So, and then estimated old cycle time and new cycle time. I recorded both the times, and we saw the percent reduction. I was expecting it around to be like 60% at the beginning of the project, but to my surprise, it came out to be like 95%. So I was really happy at the end of project. With the cost savings, by eliminating the legal review at each step, feeling that it's more redundant, having it at every step. So we came up with an estimated amount of $16,020 per year. Some other takeaways from this project are standardizing the whole process, identifying different kinds of liens and not being vague about what is this lien about, creating a process map for each type of lien, and revising the old forms, having SOPs, and eliminating the non-value added forms. Identifying point of contact for each department, and I have listed the point of contacts, and it refers more to their positions. So it's their responsibility to hand over the responsibility to the next person, whoever will come in their position. And apart from all that, the main thing was the customer service. I had called the title agencies and other citizens in the beginning of the project to see what they think about this project. And then later, when I called them back, they were very happy about having these forms and the flow charts to see how much it affects them and saves their time. So as the summary, I tied it up to our SERV. So I streamlined by creating the standard operating procedures. I empowered by eliminating non-value added steps. So the department leaders are now empowered to release the lien to certain amount depending on the clauses. We respond better to the citizen by decreased cycle time of the lien release. And we are venturing because I was new when I started this project, and I never had any conversation with the key leaders or any other departments, but this gave me a chance to venture with different departments and forming a team with different people. That was the most interesting fact of this whole process. By evaluating, we improved the customer service by evaluating the process in the beginning and the end. So, have any questions for me today?
That was great.
Beautiful job.
That was great.
And I will say, this is probably the first time and very likely the last time you'll hear me say that I agreed with legal being a non-value-added status. But as it turned out, we actually were.
I really wanted this presentation today because it just shows all our citizens what we're doing so much behind the scenes, but we don't really showcase. And so you're a real star for this organization, and you don't get a lot of praise, and you don't get a lot of attention with this type of stuff, but you're the type of person that makes a difference in this organization because you love your job day in and day out, and you're making a difference. So I'm so proud that you were able to make the presentation and be here today.
And how could anybody say no to her?
That was excellent.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for your efforts on this.
Move to approve O2.
A motion by Nix, a second by Linda. Second by Sullivan. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. Very nice. 03.
That's a hard act to follow.
It is.
I will do my best.
Wow.
Mayor and council, can any of you all distinguish which one of these items is a USB and which one of these items is a vape pen?
The one in your right hand is a USB.
I'm sorry, I got nothing.
So today, what we're going to be talking about is they look exactly the same, but one of these, and I'm not going to tell you which one it is, because my point is to let you know that we have now in 2019 devices that are being produced that are so easy to conceal. This is one of the reasons that vaping and the use of e-cigarettes is increasing. As a matter of fact, last summer, our city manager, Mr. Broussard, came to the legal department and requested that we do some research on the topic of youth vaping in particular, but to look and see what's going on out there in the science and to then come forward with amendments to the city's existing smoking ordinance. Some of you all, especially Councilman Westbrook and George Roberts, who's here today, there were some of us back in the day, these gentlemen in particular, along with County Judge Nathaniel Moran, who were involved in the very hard work and heavy lifting of getting that original smoking ordinance passed. Since then, we have continued to see city councils make a commitment to lifestyle issues where you have the ability to improve the health and well-being of the public. This group has generally done that. So what I did, we were very lucky last summer to have 2 interns in our department, law students, that I set about to ask them to do the research on this project. I thought it would be good for them as young people to look at it from a young person's perspective and to report back to me on what was really going on with the youth vaping and use of e-cigs. And one thing that we learned is that in the last year alone, there's been a 78% increase in the number of youth that are vaping. And just in the last 30 days, like if you go back to Christmas Eve's Eve, which was just about 30 days ago, since then, and let me get this stat so I don't want to miss the numbers on this. The percentage of 8th graders who have started vaping just in the last 30 days has increased from 3.5% to 6.1%. Now that's not quite 100%, but it's consistent with that number that we just saw released from the CDC in the past couple of weeks on this 78% increase in youth vaping. What we are ultimately asking you to do today, ladies and gentlemen, is to amend the ordinance to include vaping as we include cigarette smoking, to treat vaping equally as we do cigarette smoking in our ordinance. The reason that we are bringing this forward to you today is because the science, we're starting to see the science come forward, and one of the common substances that we see in the vape liquid itself is nicotine. It's the same nicotine that's produced from tobacco that goes into cigarettes. It's not special, different nicotine. And the mist or the vape, the aerosol that comes out when you are vaping, is not just water mist. That's a myth. It's mist and aerosol that may contain not only nicotine, but it may also contain heavy metals, formaldehyde, acetone, and other volatile organic compounds that can actually break down from the use of the devices themselves. We hope that you will treat vaping the same as cigarette smoking, because we are looking at cities and states across the country, already in the state of Texas, just for an example. We have Round Rock, Austin, Frisco, Lufkin, and just in the last year, just in the last several months, Beeville, Manor, and Port Isabel have now layered on top of their existing smoking ordinances. They've now included e-cigarettes and vaping. What we are requesting to do, and what I really want to honor the work of Rezin Ezra last summer, because my charge to him was to try to very simply and easily amend our smoking ordinance so that the substance of the ordinance didn't really change at all. We are simply adding e-cigarettes and other forms of these electronic smoking devices. So the amendments will include vape pens, hookahs, mods, e-cigs, e-cigars, e-cigarillos, and other electronic smoking devices. So we've got a catch-all in there to capture what we may see in the future. We also are requesting that you allow us to amend the illegal use of these devices to smoke marijuana, because marijuana is also being condensed into a vape form and being used with these exact same devices. And we are asking that you help us by including new definitions of electronic smoking devices, which I just listed for you, as well as tobacco products. So instead of just having tobacco in the ordinance now, we will extend that to include tobacco products, which will include vapes that contain nicotine. Now, some people have argued that we should only include the vapes that include nicotine, but the argument really from a scientific perspective is that even the vapes that do not contain nicotine, which are few and far between, are still dangerous. We have recent studies that have come out that are showing that vaping these types of materials may even cause more inflammation to the lungs than vaping nicotine-infused products. So the science out there is telling us these things and also saying to us, we don't know what the long-term effects are. You know, originally when these items were marketed, they were marketed as a smoking cessation device. And there may be certain circumstances where it has successfully been used for that purpose. But the problem is that the marketers have now gone down into the youth population and marketed directly to the young people. So much so that the FDA commissioner, Dr. Scott Gottlieb, just yesterday issued an alarm, a warning, and said to the manufacturers of these devices that if we continue to see the percentage increase of youth vaping to the extent that we've seen it in the past year, that then the industry itself faces a, quote, existential threat. So we may be, the United States of America may be one of the countries in the near future who bans the use of these devices, as other countries have around the world, including Norway, Australia, Brazil, and Singapore. We also see that the big cities, medium cities, and small cities across our country are layering vaping type of language on top of existing smoking ordinances. As a matter of fact, we have 80 cities in the state of Texas right now that have 100% smoking bans the way that we do in public places, in places of public accommodation. So just to remind you, this ban does not extend to private residences. It does not extend to private parties or private organizations. It extends to places of public accommodation, public buildings. So anytime you invite the public into your place of business, you will, then the same smoking ban that you have now, it will extend to vape and vape pens, hookahs, mods, and other electronic smoking devices. Does anybody have any questions?
Could you hold those up again?
Which one?
The devices.
Still trying to figure it out.
And which one is which?
I'm not going to tell you. And the reason come on, Sharon. Thank you so much. Lawyers don't usually get a laugh, so I appreciate that. The reason I'm not going to tell you is because I'm trying to emphasize how easy it is. If I were a kid and I wanted to take this into school with me, I could just put it in my pocket. You've seen people, do this kind of stuff. Now, I'm not sure what they do with the aerosol once they inhale it. I don't know if they blow it into their clothes, but this is the way that kids are sneaking in these devices into schools and using them. And just the sheer number of young people, just in the last year, that have taken up this habit is alarming. So we are following a trend. We're blazing a trail, but we're also following the trend right now to make sure that we're protecting folks from the effects of the aerosol. Secondhand smoke is what we talk about with cigarettes, and with vaping, it's secondhand aerosol because it's a mist that's coming out. The white puffy mist that you see when people are vaping? That's filled up with the same types of chemicals that we see when people smoke cigarettes.
So secondhand vaping is just as bad as secondhand
Yes, sir.
smoking?
The science that we're seeing now shows that within that vape, you're seeing organic compounds, volatile metals, heavy metals, and nicotine. So nicotine, of course, is highly addictive. It's as addictive really as heroin. When you look at the different types of drugs that have addictive properties, heroin and nicotine are really at the top. And one other stat that's very interesting, I think, the National Institute for Drug Abuse is following this, obviously, and the stats last year for adolescents using alcohol went down. Stats for opioids went down. Stats for smoking regular cigarettes went down, but the stats for vaping went way up. So it's just an interesting statistic to think about.
Well, I'd like to add something also too. Excuse me, Councilman Warren.
I have two
for interrupting. There's also the nuisance factor, in addition to the health factors that Sharon had just stated to all of us, is that the young people actually don't understand etiquette and so on. And so the restaurant, hospitality, even small business, anywhere in the workplace where these young people may go, they may discharge this vape freely and without regard to anybody else's personal space, safety, and so on. And so I think that it's one of the key pillars when we originally argued the point for the original smoking ordinance to pass that, is because of providing a healthy environment for a healthy workplace and those that are sharing that public space also too. So
Yes.
Go ahead, sir.
You may have covered this. You've got to be 18 to buy cigarettes.
That's correct. Yeah.
Is there an
state
age
Texas.
restriction on buying vapes?
It's the same restriction.
Same one?
Yes. And I think the law in Texas right now is that you have to require an ID before you can purchase if you're under the age of 27. So everybody under the age of 27 has to show an ID, but the law is still at the state level at 18. There is a push right now to raise that to 21, but that has not happened at state level at this point. City of San Antonio is the first large city that I'm aware of in Texas that has passed that law that has raised the local smoking age to 21.
Mayor, this is the right choice. It's the
Well,
right time.
I do have two cards.
Okay.
So I have George Roberts and Terrence Yates as cards, if y'all like to come up. Obviously, George is coming first, and Terrence, you're second.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Mayor and Council, George Roberts, CEO of the Northeast Texas Public Health District, and I want to commend Ed, you, and city leadership, and Sharon for the work that you did to come up with this change in the ordinance, and Mayor and Council for considering this. Sharon's done a great job of laying this whole thing out. I just want to add one thing that I read. So there's a group called the National Institute of Occupational Safety and Health that recommends that employers establish and maintain smoke-free workplaces that protect those in workplaces from involuntary secondhand exposures to tobacco smoke and airborne emissions from e-cigarettes and other electronic devices. So that's adds a more fuel to this discussion here. So we, with the Northeast Texas Public Health District, strongly urge you to pass this. Thank you.
Terrence?
So good morning. To add what Sharon mentioned about the size
kind of compared to how cell phones used to be large and now they're pocket size. So same thing with e-cigarettes, the sizes that they come in different sizes now, and tobacco companies are making them smaller, more convenient, making the dose more accessible, more effective. To kind of go along with Councilman Westbrook's topic where middle school and high school students are getting addicted to it now. Fast forward this 10 years, 20 years later when they're going to become employees of workforces here in Tyler and across Smith County and across the state. So then also with Don, with your comment about the age, you're supposed to be 18 or open to buy, but there are workaround ways to make it more accessible to people that are under the age of 18. I've been involved with a statewide group called Say What, Students, Adults, and Youth Working Hard Against Tobacco. And we have a couple of youth ambassadors here that are students at John Tyler High School. Last week they had a presentation where they had an oncologist talk about popcorn lung. So with the aerosol that's exhaled, for even if you're not an e-cigarette user, you ingesting that aerosol, you can develop those same secondhand smoke issues. So it's a public health issue for the consumer, but then also for the non-smoker that may be around somebody that's an e-cigarette user. So with this ordinance, I also want to make sure that you make sure the language includes nicotine delivery and combustible devices, because 10, 20 years later, tobacco companies are going to have newer devices so that we're not having to change the ordinance over and over again.
Thank you. And Terrence, brother, you're with the Smith County Public Health as well. So, Bob, go ahead.
Mr. Mayor, I move to approve 03.
A motion from
Second.
Westbrook, second from Warren. Any other questions or comments?
I think this is a no-brainer.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. On to R1.
This is a request that the council consider adopting a resolution of support for various affordable housing tax credit project proposals and the approval of the waiver of development permit fees in the amount of $500 for each awarded project. The tax credits are awarded to eligible participants to offset a portion of their federal tax liability in exchange for the production of or preservation of affordable housing. Various entities are requesting a resolution of support for their individual applications from the City of Tyler to improve their opportunity to obtain credits from the Texas Department of Housing and Community Affairs. All proposed developments are targeting the elderly population. And as you know, Tyler actively markets itself as a retirement destination and has earned this distinction of being a certified retirement community in Texas. Providing a resolution in support of affordable housing projects is consistent with the Tyler First comprehensive goal to provide sufficient housing for households at all income levels and all stages of the life cycle. While supporting developer access to funding for affordable housing production is consistent with our community goals, a resolution of support that you're considering today does not suggest that a request to rezone properties associated with these HTC proposals will be supported. If a property must be rezoned, it must go through the rezoning process, which includes a public process, review and recommendation by city staff, recommendation by the Planning and Zoning Commission, and then final approval from the Tyler City Council. You have before you a table here listing the request. I do want to point out that numbers 5 and 6 have withdrew their application, and number 1 did not submit a pre-application for this request. And so the projects that you would be considering for resolution would be number 2, 3, 4, 7, and 8.
No, okay, Heather, so do we expect, so 5 and 6 withdrew their request?
Yes, sir.
and number one did not put in a request.
They did not submit a pre-application with the housing,
Oh, we-
right.
Okay, so we'll mark that off of this discussion. One thing that normally we have like one or two of these projects submitted to us. This is the first time that now we're down to 5, but we had 8 projects submitted. And the difficulty is that when we had 1 or 2, it was very obvious which one would most likely get enough points by an outside agency that we're not involved in scoring points at all. An outside agency, it was really kind of clear which one would get the points. So we have this many. And so what my request of staff was, let's really look at approving each one of these. When we approve each one, they get certain point levels that increase for their outside state grading, okay? One thing that we've also in the past traditionally have looked at what the current zoning is and said, look, that if something doesn't have zoning, then we don't really want to give it approval because the difficulty of the P&Z process. And it was a lot easier when you had 1 or 2 projects. Now we're down to 5, but we had 8 to look at. So if we vote to support all, they all get the points, additional points for the state. But in no way are we saying to the neighbors in these areas that if something doesn't have zoning, you still have full right to come in and voice your opposition to these projects. And that will be incumbent upon whomever the developers are to work through that process. But in no way are we usurping the very important planning and zoning process. We put this out in front of the council members for approval today, if that is a process that you're in agreement with. I, of course, think we ought to move forward in that fashion. That basically says we're supporting the general concept of the programs, but we're not picking the winner and losers either, right? We're not saying, okay, you get all the points, so everybody else is a loser in the process, because those points are very important. So we'll let the state pick the winners and losers because they're running the federal program, I understand, to decide where these tax credit goes. And we don't pick winners and losers, but P&Z, there will be some losers, because if the neighbors are in opposition to some of these projects, they won't be done. That's my case. So there, I'll leave it up to the council members to make and have their input on that process.
And that is, I mean, to kind of echo what the mayor said, that's been a concern we've run into several times over the past 4 or 5 years, where as we got down the road to a P&Z meeting, citizens felt like they hadn't had a voice prior to that point, where in reality that is the point where they can come up and work with the developer and come up with a solution. And we really do need to get to where we can clearly clarify in these resolutions of support, as the mayor stated, that we're not superseding the zoning. There's not a council opinion on what the zoning should be or shouldn't be for that property. That will come at a later time, depending on the approval by the state. And at that time, we'll work with our neighborhoods and figure out if it's a viable thing for that piece of property and for that neighborhood to work with.
If I want to speak just to the process a little bit, and clarify me if I'm wrong, but I serve on the Housing Council with Christina with the East Texas Human Needs Network, and so I see the need for affordable housing. But when you talk about affordable housing, these complexes are not totally affordable housing. You'll have a certain number of units for people that, for 30% of their income will qualify. Some units 50%, some units 60%. Then a certain number of units will be for people and they'll pay market rate. So when it's called an affordable housing project, it's not like what you put in your head. So these are really good-looking complex. Everyone I saw is a good-looking complex, very nice. And so, anyway, the affordable housing thing, you can kind of, it's not what it is perceived to be.
Okay, so I do have two cards, and I believe they're both applicants. A Michael Ash from Irving and a Breck Keene, is that correct, from Atlanta, that are here. I guess y'all are legally, are based on, you're welcome to come up and speak if you'd like. I mean, if you're just here for informational purposes, and I guess you can meet with some councilmen afterwards if you'd like, or if you already have. It's up to you if you would like to speak, since you have cards. Okay.
Good morning. I won't take long. My name is Michael Ash. I'm one of the applicants for the tax credits. My address is 1535 Camino Lago in Irving. I'm here to ask for support for our project. But I think one thing that came up in the conversation that I think will bring you ease is that applicants that don't have zoning in place at the time we submit our application, which is March 1st, we're required to give the city basically a hold harmless letter, saying that we understand zoning is not a right. We understand that zoning has not been given to us. If we go forward, any money we've spent, any time we've spent is our problem, and the city's off the hook. So I hope that will make you feel better about the fact that you're passing a resolution of support this morning without having resolved the zoning issue. There will be a hold harmless letter that you receive as part of the process.
Correct.
Other than that, I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have about my project, but hopefully we'll be back in the next month and a half talking in more detail about the project and zoning.
Okay.
Thank you.
Mr. Keene?
Good evening, Mayor, or morning, Mayor.
It's still morning.
Must be on Eastern time.
Yeah, not for you. It's right at noon for you.
I'm Brett Keene. I'm from Atlanta, Georgia. I represent Ray Ventures Group, and our project is Abington Grand, which is on Crow Road near the Oak Hill intersection, a piece of property owned by the Christus Health System. Again, I'm here to ask for your support. It's essential for us to go forward and compete for these resources to bring affordable active adult housing to Tyler. And I'm available for any questions.
Thank you.
Just curious, why is yours scored 2 less than the others? What's that? What makes that happen?
It's because of the census tract that we're located in. There's one of the criteria that's is underserved area points. The census tract that our project is in abuts a census tract that has an existing tax credit property that was built in the last 15 years. And because of that locational characteristic, we did not get those 2 points.
It's kind of an educational process, this whole deal.
And what was that project?
It was the Earl Campbell.
Yeah, at 155 and Sunnybrook Vine Street.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so thank goodness we're not involved in the scoring process. That's above my pay grade.
And we did have at least one other applicant.
I think everything's above my pay grade since I'm a volunteer, but, by the way, but anyway, go ahead, sir.
There was one other applicant that is also in the room, with council, just to recognize, Mr., and I'm going to butcher Zachary's last name, Croctingle. Croctingle?
Okay, and you didn't fill out a card, but if you want to come up and.
That's all right.
Okay, thank you very much. So,
Mayor, I move to approve R1.
Second.
okay, I have a motion from Warren and a second by Westbrook. Any other discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. Thank you. Okay, so now we're on to we're on to M1.
Mayor and Council, we're requesting that the City Council
authorize the city manager to approve change order number 2 in the amount of $494,000 to Graycon Construction, Inc. for the Golden Road Water Treatment Plant Backwash Pump Station and Clearwell Baffle Project. As the contractor was beginning to perform the excavation to do the tie-in of the backwash pump station, as it got close to the building, there was 2 lines exposed. One is a 24-inch filter effluent line, that's the clean water going to the clear wells, and also a suction pipeline, a 30-inch suction pipeline that goes to the high service pump station. There was signs of leaking from both of those pipes. It is concrete cylinder pipe, so it is 60-plus years old. Without being able to determine the extent of the damage, doing point repair or individual repairs would not be warranted. The fact that we are 30-foot deep, this is an opportunity. As you know, anytime you rehab any old structure, you always will discover something else that needs to be fixed. So in this case, KSA, contractor, and staff are recommending that we replace all of the lines, the 24 and the 30-inch, and bring in new pipe. Because of the lead time for pipe, we've actually authorized the contractor to order the material because it will take about 6 weeks to do this installation, which would put us at the early stage of March, depending upon weather. So we want to try to get the plant back full operational as quickly as possible prior to spring and when our water demands begin to go up.
Okay, I think that's a great idea since we're in there and we see that item needs to be repaired. Golden Road Water Treatment Plant, after we finish this project, will be much superior.
Well, and also we have future CIP projects going forward. We'll continue with our filter rehabs.
Yes.
Those will be going forward. Those are in the 10-year CIP. And then also we will be replacing a lot of the control systems that are outdated. Once we get all the filters rehabbed, we will start replacing the control systems.
And we're going to do some of that filter rehab this year?
Yes, there's a project that will be under design, and we will.
It's already under design, right?
It's under design, yes, and it will be bid this year also.
You got it finished yet?
I do. Actually, that question was asked, and I think we're near completion.
Good.
I had seen a draft set several months ago. Actually, the first time I saw a draft set or discussed draft set was at TML. But we're moving forward with that, so
Good.
I'd expect to see that bid sometime this spring.
Good. I'd like to get that done.
Mayor, I move to approve M1.
Motion by Westbrook, a second by Sellers. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. M2?
Good morning, Mayor and Council.
Morning.
As you know, Tyler Transit Department is working diligently to cut costs and reduce any redundancy. So we do work with other organizations, the East Texas Human Needs Network, Folsom, and our very own legal department, the MPO's Technical Advisory Committee and Policy Committee, to kind of look over what's going on with the paratransit system in whole. And to align ourselves with the FTA's requirements, it was important for us to review the current ADA plan that the city had adopted back in 2011. And we did find a need to adjust for the time we're in. So with that being said, we have made some additions and takeaways to the plan in regards to the HIPAA compliance, holiday service information that's on that older plan, information that involves subscription, service information, other items, safety policies, rider code of conduct, and rules that was never part of that. And we also did change some verbiage to direct regulation with the assistance of our legal department. And we also updated our no-show policy. So it is recommended that the City Council consider adopting the updated ADA paratransit plan that we have created.
Questions of Mr. Gill? I'll entertain a motion.
Move to approve M2.
A motion by Westbrook and a second from Sellers. Any other questions or comments? Hearing none, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. Thank you, sir.
Good morning.
Morning, Davis.
Good morning,
Davis.
This request is to consider awarding title bid number 19-008 to Joe R. Jones Construction for the instrument landing system relocation project at the airport. I want to mention this is the last really big program associated with that runway job. And so just with a little bit of land acquisition that we have left, this will start wrapping us up. And so just to kind of give you, somebody got the clicker. But the picture that I've showed, there you, I figured, Heather. Thank you. Just to kind of recap, we have an instrument landing system there on the airfield now on a shorter runway. And last week, we were pleased to open the new runway officially. And as a part of that, it's 8,300 feet, and moving that instrument landing system over to the longer runway would provide a huge benefit. And just so everybody knows again what an instrument landing system does, it just gives us those capabilities for aircraft to land in really inclement weather conditions with low cloud ceilings, low visibility. So it really enhances the abilities of the airport. Back in the summer, we, and this, again, a picture of some of the components that are involved with it. It's a pretty complicated system with a lot of roadways that lead to the different towers and facility buildings. But we had actually bid this program, the construction program, in the summer and opened bids in September. The low bid was $2,864,849. It was above our grant budget, so we came to you all, rejected those bids, and rebid the program, repackaged it somewhat. And our low bid now with Joe R. Jones under the new bid is $2,257,329, which fits well within our grant budget. We also checked the qualifications. This is a very unique type program, very complicated, and Joe R. Jones Construction has done a number of programs like at DFW Airport, New Orleans, Las Vegas, a number of larger programs that are very similar to ours. So we feel they're very qualified, in fact, have some very good response. We've already secured the grant for the funding of the program. Again, this would be 90% funded through FAA Grant 41 with a local share coming from half-cent sales tax. So this has been reviewed by our Airport Advisory Board and the half-cent sales tax, and we've received their recommendations. And you can see kind of the scope of work that would be included.
Any questions of Davis?
Move to approve M3.
A motion by Nix, a second by Moore. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. M4.
And this is still associated with the same program we just discussed. And this program is with KSA Engineers for a total of not to exceed $160,900. And what that encompasses is materials testing that we're required to do, have a project representative on site for construction, administration, and making sure, that all the warranties are met, all the quality is met through the construction process. This would be in conjunction with FAA engineers being on site. They have to also look at some of their specific items that they will eventually own. So again, this is funded through Grant 41 at 90%, and the local share being just over $16,000 from the half-cent sales tax. It's gone through our Airport Advisory Board and half-cent sales tax board.
Move to approve it, M4.
Second.
Motion by Warren, a second by Sellers. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Thank you, Davis. I know we're really coming to the end on that project, and you've done a great job spearheading that over many years.
Thank you.
I think it is our opportunity now to switch gears a little bit.
It is.
And really work on getting more partnerships with airlines, strengthening the American Airlines relationship we have, and look at any potential private firms, not only cargo, but private entities to expand their utilization of the airport, so.
I think, yeah, showcasing that runway, the capabilities, well, that just gives us that edge up. So that's our program. And of course, you'll see too with 20-year planning and how we do that, which will include a great deal of air service development.
Yeah, that's a good deal. Keep it up.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Davis. Now we have a consent agenda. Is there any items that need to be removed, or I'll entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Move to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Motion by Sellers, a second by McGee. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. City managers report.
Thank you, Mayor and Council.
I didn't forget this time.
Appreciate it. I feel the love now that I'm out that stage. A few items.
Don't get carried away, boy.
Union Pacific has notified us that they are doing a rail and tie replacement projects throughout the city over the next couple of weeks. There are 4 areas specifically: County Road 381, Northeast Loop 323, and Duncan Street that they will be doing. These intersections will be closed for about 3 to 4 days as they make those as far as replacements. But we will work to try to make sure that we alert the citizens in those driving those areas, so they'll be able to kind of make appropriate accommodations as those intersections are closed. Innovation Pipeline is partnering with Tyler Junior College to provide a work-study opportunity for students at the Innovation Pipeline. This agreement is the first step to broadening the open hours of the facility, and TJC students will begin working at the Innovation Pipeline by early February. We also had park staff attend the Texas Historical Commission board meeting in Laredo this past week. After a year and a half of research that we've been doing, the Tyler Municipal Rose Garden was approved by the board to be on the National Register of Historical Places on the state level. We expect this designation to be on the register in the National Book in approximately 6 to 8 weeks. And then finally, we'll be celebrating Arbor Day this Saturday at TJC West Campus with activities and tree plantings. And so please feel free, if you have the opportunity, to stop by and to take part in that with those students and the general community.
Great, thank you. So now we do have executive session today, and executive item number 1 under Texas Government Code Section 551.071, litigation deliberation regarding the following: pending or contemplated litigation involving Sarashua Enterprise LLC and enforcement of city hotel motel occupancy tax. Excuse me for not being able to pronounce that name. Litigation is by its nature an ongoing process, and questions may arise as to trial tactics which need to be explained to the city council. Upon occasion, the city council may need information from the city attorney as to the status of pending or contemplated litigation subjects listed above. Any final action to be taken by the city council will be taken in open session. Do we anticipate any final action on this item?
No, sir. I don't believe
We don't expect it, but we may.
We may. I don't know that necessarily any formal action versus after the briefing will be necessary.
Okay. So I don't know the answer to that question.
This is one of the times I can't get around legal. As we talked about.
That's okay. That's fine. That's why I'm asking you. So at this time, we'll be in recess. Okay, we're coming back from executive session, and we do not have any action items from that session. And so at this time, we're going to call back up the IT department. They have a video to show. Yes, thank you.
Every day to be better. There's nothing we won't do to try to provide a better service to the citizens.
touch points throughout the city. Police, fire, water, things like temperature, clarity, you name it, we're monitoring it.
Tyler Way is about maximizing value for this community. When we serve the community, we come together as a team. Not just my team, we come together with police, we come together with fire, we come together with the streets. We do that as a collaboration to serve our citizens. That's what we do. We do it because it's Tyler. Tyler is our home. We all live together here. We're one community. And that's the Tyler way.
That's good. That's good. Well, that's a good program, and thank you for all your work that you do in our IT department.
And they have cake for you.
Pardon me?
They have cake for you.
Oh, good, yeah, that, well, so we have to adjourn first before we eat cake?
Yes, sir.
So let's go. So moved. All in favor, aye. Aye. Cake.